1970 WOCA. Ocala.
All right, 6 minutes after 11 o'clock. One of the cool things about doing this job, Robin, is we get to talk to people that we know that don't know that we know them. And even though Phil Proctor has been with us before on the show, he may not remember what I'm about to say, so I'll say it again. When I was, I guess it was in junior high school, I had an art class, and there was an art teacher who was just the coolest guy ever. Mm-hmm. And so while we were working on our art, he would play records, and one of the records he would play was Fire Sign Theater.
Wow.
And so I became a fan of Fire Sign Theater while sketching people or plants or whatever you did in art class, right? For everybody younger than me who doesn't remember Fire Sign Theater, well, maybe you know the Rugrats. Or maybe you know the Dr. Dolittle, the drunken French monkey from Dr. Dolittle. I went to try to get a soundbite from that movie, by the way. I couldn't find it. Or maybe Seahorse Bob and Finding Nemo. Phil Proctor is the voice of those characters and also was one of the voices on those vinyl records way back when in that art class. And he's on the phone with us right now, and the notes say he's heading to Italy. So I hope he speaks to us in English. Good morning, Phil. How you doing?
Bene, grazie. Andiamo a Italia in lunedì, sarà bene per tutti persone. Oh, I'm sorry.
Wow. Are you really fluent in Italian, or was that just phonetic?
No, posso parlare un po' italiano. Sì, I actually speak 7 languages, and including Russian.
Wow.
Amazing.
This is one of the crazy gifts that I was born with, to be able to kind of.
Gosh, that is amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how I got into the dedication to voiceover work. You know.
So which is harder, doing a language if you know it, or doing the accent of that language in English?
Oh no, doing accent is very easy to do always, because you know where the way that these peoples are speaking from their mouth.
Oh, that is great. Even the broken, the poor grammar.
Yeah,
stuff.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's always a part of it, and it's it's a mentality. I have this ability to kind of get into the head of people from other countries. Now, I do not speak Italian fluently. I have a good accent. Which is damaging, because when I start to speak it, the natives think I'm Italian or that I speak it fluently, and so they start blabbing back at me. But I never studied Italian formally, and the trips that we've had to Italy before this, my wife Melinda Peterson and myself, have been shorter trips, and I've been able to get by with a tourist's knowledge of the language. But this time, I sincerely hope that we'll both come back with some kind of conversational fluency.
So, and just to stick with that for a little bit, are you immersing yourself in the culture for the purpose of learning language, or are you making a movie? What are you doing over there?
I'd love to. No, I'm not making a movie, although there may be some interviews for documentaries. I'll get into a little bit of that today and tell you about it. But basically, it's a trip for my wife. She has been studying to teach English as a foreign language. Okay, she's a wonderful actress, but once the work started drying up for women of her age, then what am I going to do with my life? She loves Italy. We both love Italy, and so she decided to take a course and become accredited in teaching English.
Oh, wow.
Okay? So we're going over to kind of check out some of the college towns and see where she might be able to go over and spend some time in next year, maybe for 2 months or 3 months, so that and she can actually earn some money while she's over there.
Wow, that's pretty exciting stuff.
It's an interesting idea. It really is.
So what do you get remembered for the most? Like, what do people come up to you and say, "Oh gosh, I loved you"? Like, if it was me, it would be Fire Sign Theater. Although when my son was little, we watched Rugrats all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, one of the horrors of being an acknowledged voiceover actor is that you aren't often recognized on the street. When I was a younger actor and I was doing soap operas and guest starring on television shows and all of that, people would think that they knew you if you weren't a star. They'd say, don't I know you? And I'd say, yeah, well, I probably sold you car insurance. And they go, oh, yeah, you're the FGS car guy. Right? I mean, honestly, it's so bizarre. One of the things that I did when I came out here to California, which I came out with a show called The Amorous Flea, because I'm also a singer. Singing comes along with being able to do languages and all of that, a musical ability. And actually, I'll tell you a quick story. When I was in Goshen, Indiana, I was a baby, my grandfather was singing Onward Christian Soldiers or some other kind of militant hymn to me to put me to sleep. And apparently I hummed it back to him.
To put you to sleep, yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So he grabs me up out of the crib, takes me downstairs, and sings the hymn, and I hum it back for the entire audience, for my mom and dad and my grandmother. And that was the first and the last time I ever worked for free in this industry. But I was apparently born with that ability. I mean, it was genetic. And I think it comes out of my Amish ancestry, because my great-uncle Joe Yoder, who wrote the books about our family, Rosanna of the Amish and Rosanna's Boys, now in, I think it's 250th paperback publishing edition. He was a linguist and a musician and a lecturer. He actually acted in minstrel shows when he left the Amish faith, the Amish community, I should say, and became a writer and a lecturer about the Amish way of life and all of this. And I met him, and I knew him briefly in the 50s before he died, but I think I got a lot of his genes, and I don't just mean the work genes from the Amish work. I mean, I think I got some of his stuff. And that, and most all of my family has musical gifts, and there was always singing and harmonizing going on in our home, and piano playing. And,
that sounds like fun. Yeah,
it was a great upbringing.
Now you have in your notes here, you are the voice of the Good Dinosaur in the Pixar film. Is that a new film?
The Good Dinosaur is one of the new films, probably late 2015 will be released. And there's another film I'm working on, too, called Inside Out, which is a brilliant Pixar idea. It takes place in the mind of a pre-adolescent little girl who's just beginning to become an adolescent. And it embodies the characters that run her brain.
Oh, wow.
It's absolutely amazing. These guys are just endlessly creative.
So can we hear what the Amish accent sounds like from the dinosaur?
Yeah, well, an Amish accent is kind of like a German accent, but it also has elements of Norwegian in it. So it's a very subtle kind of way that they speak, Like
yeah, I can hear it, yeah. Oh, yeah. So, see, I wouldn't have known that was Amish. I would say, where are you from? Are you from Germany or something? Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. The Amish accent is, and it varies. It varies depending on whether they're Peachy Amish or Kaufman Amish, what part of are they in Pennsylvania? Are they in northern Indiana? Are they in Florida? It's not like the governor of the ex-governor of Alaska with her Minnesota accent up there in Alaska. I mean, that's an anomaly.
That's right.
Because she was raised in a community that, a Minnesota community up there in that part of the world. That's kind of the way the Amish are. It depends on where the community is, how much German, Pennsylvania Deutsch, they actually speak in the community, and how much they communicate in English with the English, which is what they call all of us.
Oh, okay. I have so many more things I want to ask you, Phil, but we have to take a little break for weather and a couple of commercials, but we'll be right back with Phil Proctor after this. This is The Source, WOCA Ocala.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. Times of sun and clouds today with a couple of thunderstorms around, high 89 to 91. There'll be a shower or thunderstorm early this evening, otherwise partly cloudy skies tonight, low 72 to 75. Tomorrow will feature a mix of sun and clouds with a shower or thunderstorm, high 90 to 92. And partly cloudy skies tomorrow night with a shower or thunderstorm, low 72 to 74. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm Stephanie Omo.
Everyone agrees the best azaleas are the ever-bloomers, and right now is your best chance to save on dwarf ever-blooming red ruffle azaleas. Regularly $5.99, now you get 6 for $24.99 at Bob Wine's Camellia Gardens in Ocala. And yes, Bob Wine's has other smaller azaleas for as little as $1.99 each. Absolutely gorgeous double red and double pink knockout roses. They're marked down to just $19.99. Sun Patience, perfect for fall, only $5.99. That's just the beginning. The truckload sale is still going on. That means you can get a big 6-foot tree of your choice for as little as $29.99. Larger sizes are also available up to the gigantic super jumbos. Check this week's ad for all the super savings at Bob Wine's. Remember, they're open 9 to 2 Monday through Saturday. Bob Wine's Camellia Gardens, Southeast 38th Street, Ocala, growing greener with Ocala since 1952.
Who would you feed if you had 50 chicken sandwiches from Chick-fil-A? WOCA and Chick-fil-A in the Paddock Mall have teamed up to reward one organization with 50 chicken sandwiches as a way of saying thanks for the great work that organization is doing in our community. And we need your help. See, there are so many great people doing great things that we need nominations. You can nominate your own organization or any organization you choose. Simply send an email to WOCA@WOCA.com. And in 350 words or less, tell us why the organization you are nominating should receive 50 free chicken sandwiches from WOCA and Chick-fil-A at the Paddock Mall. We'll review your nominations and then select one deserving organization each month. We'll announce the winner and even read the winning entry on the air. Make sure to include the contact name and phone number of the organization that you are nominating. And thanks from your friends at WOCA and Chick-fil-A in the Paddock Mall.
All right, 17 minutes after 11 o'clock. Phil Proctor is on the phone. And, we were so excited to speak to Phil. I don't think I properly introduced him. He is an award-winning, Emmy-winning actor, singer, writer, producer, 45-year member of the thrice Grammy-nominated Firesign Theater Comedy Group. And that's how I guess I first heard his voice way back when in when did I go to school?
In the 70s.
Late 60s, early 70s,
early 70s. He's so humble, too.
During the break, you told Robin about working with your wife on a new film.
Yeah, well, actually, the film that I worked on with my wife, there's a lot of independent films that are being made these days out here in California, and it's really exciting. And it affords an opportunity for older actors, character actors like me and my wife, to hop back in front of the cameras, which is always so much fun. But the film the first film that's been released now just features me. I co-star in it, and it's called Window of Opportunity. It's just been released on the World Wide Web, if you will. They're going to have a screening here in Los Angeles that I will not be here for, unfortunately.
Oh, no.
And it doesn't have any star names or anything like that, but it's a wonderful film, and it was produced by John Densmore, who is the drummer for The Doors. And the reason that he got aboard this is that he's a friend of Samuel Warren Joseph, who wrote the play that we did originally, and then the adaptation to the film, and he directed it. It's a film about corporate greed, and it's a film about corrupt CEOs, and the themes that have been so prevalent in our country and have upset our society so much and led to the Great Recession and all this nonsense that we've been put through. So it's a comedic, a kind of a dark comedic take on this, but it's also a thriller and a mystery. And a sexy thriller and a mystery.
Oh, wow. Cool.
It's a very interesting film, Window of Opportunity. If you just Google it, it'll take you to the website, and you'll get a sample of it.
So is it done yet, or is it still being worked on?
No, the film is finished. It's out there. It's ready to go.
I have a Netflix account. Can I watch it on my Netflix account?
Probably. I don't know if it's on Netflix. It might be. It might be. I know it's on a lot of different platforms. I'm looking here at the.
Your phone doesn't buzz when I watch something?
Say that again.
You don't get a buzz on your telephone when somebody's watching one of your films?
No, but my bank is immediately notified. We still live off of residuals in this crazy business. I don't know if folks are aware of that. It's not so much, again, the stars, because most stars will accept a buyout of some sort, or they'll take what they call a piece of the rear end. Now, I don't want to say much more than that. It must feel like they get something. They get profits right off the top of movies if they're big stars. But those of us who are journeyman actors, or recognized feature players, we basically, we're paid on a residual basis through our union, and that means that every time that a film that we do or a television show is exploited, whether it's being shown on a plane, which has happened to me, by the way. I've got in New Zealand. We traveled to New Zealand and Alaska and Australia. There's an accent for you. There's the most annoying accent in the world. Anyway, we traveled down there, and on several of the flights, they were showing Rugrats cartoons and movies that I'd done voices for. So I'm sitting there listening to myself at 30,000.
Oh, that is great. That is great.
Making a few bucks. But what's happened with the residuals now, because of electronic downloading, since people are not actually buying physical product anymore,
right.
They're not buying, so many DVDs, they're not buying cassettes as they used to buy all the time. We get a much smaller piece of the action. The other day, I actually deposited 3 checks for a total of 3 cents.
Oh, no.
Oh, gee.
No.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Yeah. And I'll go down to the mailbox some mornings and I'll find a stack of checks. And I'll go, oh, boy. And it'll take me like 15 minutes to open them and process them and stamp them and everything. And I'm lucky if they add up to $30 or $40. Now, that's not the way it used to be, my friend.
Oh, wow.
And it's even the same with commercials. When we used to do commercials and there were just, I got to tell you, I'm 74 years old. You said, you were turned on to the Firesign Theater in the early 70s. I'm in my early 70s. All right? And I'm still doing this crazy business. So I've seen a lot of changes in the way people are compensated for what they do. And I really feel sorry for the kids today because they're not stepping into the kind of a marketplace, a dynamic entertainment marketplace that we did, that motivated us to put up with a lot of nonsense. The auditions you have to go through to get an on-camera commercial are always grueling. You're competing with so many other talented people who look like you.
Yeah, I bet.
For a job. And in the old days, if you'd get a job, it would be played on the networks, okay? There were only a few networks.
Right.
And so every time it was played, you get a nice piece of change. And when you go down to your mailbox in those days, you'd get one check, you could buy a car.
Oh, man.
Now, just to show you how it's deteriorated, there used to be a bar here in Hollywood called Residuals, okay? All right? And the actors would hang out in there, and you'd bring your smallest residual check and get a free drink.
Oh, no.
Guess what? They went out of business 20 years ago.
Oh. That's a great name for a bar.
That's how long the business has changed, how long ago the business started changing. And anyway, but that's the downside of it. The upside is we're doing something we love. This is why everybody, is in the business, and we're entertaining people. And one of the reasons, one of the things you didn't mention is one of the areas that we work in a lot now is games.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And I'm the villain. I'm a villain named Dr. Vidic on the Assassin's Creed game.
Oh, wow.
Really?
That's a hot game.
It's huge, a huge game. And I'm also doing another villain on a huge upcoming game that I can't even tell you about because they punish us if we talk too much about some of these. But it's a biggie. It's a biggie, and it uses one of the Marvel comic characters, that has become.
Oh, man. What's the first letter?
Well, I don't. B.
B. Okay.
Well, it's not Bambi, that's for sure.
Right. Anyway, I could probably talk about it because it's not out yet and everything. And as long as I don't divulge the huge star who is now doing the main role and all of that, I'm probably okay. But we still can't be too careful these days.
Yeah.
What is really fascinating is that you're doing new projects with new ideas from new writers, and you're not falling back on the projects that have been done before to constantly remake them.
It's true. And, of course, part of I have to mention this, too. part of the thing about the Firesign Theater, which is still popular enough that if people go to our website, they can get all kinds of new material that we're releasing. But we, of course, have been restricted now in what we can do because our dear partner, our founding partner, Peter Bergman, passed away 3 years ago of leukemia. So we're now actually the Firesign Theater. There's only 3 of us left.
Oh.
But there's a wonderful guy named Luke Poling, who is a documentary filmmaker who just released a film about George Plimpton, which is quite wonderful. He wants to do a documentary about Firesign Theater.
Oh, that's cool.
Okay, so that's in the pre-production stages right now, and fundraising. And all
I would love to see that.
Well, so would we.
Yeah.
So anyway, that is something that is going on. It's very exciting, and I was talking about maybe being involved in a documentary in Italy, and that's because there's another guy who's doing a documentary about the origins of FM radio, of listener-supported FM radio, which is really one of the reasons why this is an FM station, right?
Yes.
Yeah, well, FM was something that came about, I think it was in the 60s. It certainly was a revolution that happened, or a new form of broadcasting with high-quality stereo. Stereo broadcast in the 60s, and it liberated a lot of stations to be able to play albums like the Firesign Theater, because these stations were pretty much non-commercial at the time, and were cropping up in listener-supported
I would imagine the college stations played a lot of Firesign Theater.
That's right, and a lot of the DJs that took over the airwaves cut their teeth on FM radio and playing stuff like Carlin and Firesign Theater and other new age comedians. As part of their music.
Before we run out of time, Phil, tell me a little bit about what you were doing with the Golden Age Theater. Yeah.
Yeah. Now I'm a tremendous booster of audio theater, and I little did I know my whole career would be based around it. But having been raised on radio and loving the thrill of being able to use your imagination to fill out a story in your own brain, I was hired to do voices for the Golden Age of Pulp Fiction series. L. Ron Hubbard, before he got involved with the Scientology thing and created all of that brouhaha, he was an amazing writer, tremendously prolific writer, and he wrote hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of great stories in all genres: science fiction, arson, spies. I mean, you just name it, adventures, zombie stories. He had an amazing mind, and I was hired to do. I probably did about 60 to 80 voices on these terrific CDs that they produced, high quality studio with wonderful actors about 5 years ago. And we did, I think, 85 or 90 of them, and they're releasing them in batches over the years. I don't need no stinking batches. Okay? And one of the ways that they promote them is they have a beautiful studio that they built in Hollywood. And they get together a bunch of crazy actors like me, and we go down there and we will stand up in front of an audience and perform one of the stories, okay? That's maybe one of the new ones that's going to be released. And that way we get to do live audio theater as well as...
Oh, that's cool. And I know we have a similar theater, in St. Pete, I think?
Yeah.
I think we have one down in St. Pete.
Is there? Oh, that's wonderful. Well, the last time I was in Florida, I was doing Agatha Christie's BBC Murders at the Parker Playhouse with Zev Buffman producing, and that was and all the Parker Playhouse is in Fort Lauderdale, and I think we played another venue somewhere else in Florida, and I had played at the Parker Playhouse on their inaugural season. In like 1965 or something, I toured with Bob Cummings in a play called Generation. And there I was, almost 50 years later, trotting the same boards. I was lucky I didn't fall through them.
Joni Siegel is in charge of this acting theater in Tampa, so they do a great job.
I think that's wonderful.
Yeah,
that's wonderful. I encourage it. In fact, I worked just 2 days ago with Charlotte Ray, Ed Asner, Norman Lloyd, and Samantha Egger. We were celebrating Norman Lloyd's 100th birthday, which is coming up in November. Again, for most of your listeners, Norman Lloyd may not be a household name, but he started with the Mercury radio players with Orson Welles back in the 30s.
My goodness,
that?
yeah,
Imagine that?
And he can still articulate what it was like if you chatted with him about it.
He is as sharp as a tack.
Wow.
It's painful. He one of the fun things about working with Norman is that he will tell you anecdotes about the early crazy days of Hollywood and not just radio, but he had a movie career. He was in 2 Hitchcock films. I mean, the man is amazing. And so we did a Heartbreak House because there's a part of an old sea captain called Captain Shotover. And because he's overshot, he shot his last wad, if you will. And it tells this wonderful story of this guy who runs his house like a ship, and these strange things that happen. And I got to work with Charlotte Ray. I played the Cockney burglar, right? Another accent.
It's amazing how quickly you jump right into them, too.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm supposed to do, mate.
Yeah.
I pay money, what else can I say? So anyway, I got to play the Cockney burglar, and Charlotte Ray, another brilliant, wonderful, crazy actress, she was my wife in it, my Cockney wife. And we performed it before a live audience, and that'll be on XM Sirius Radio at some point or another. If you Google the CART Players, C-A-R-T, California Artist Radio Theater by Peggy Weber, who's started in Dragnet on the radio, and she she worked with Norman Corwin and all the great people in the golden age of radio. So it's pretty amazing that people who've had these long careers, and now I can count myself as one of them, are still given opportunities to use our skills that are kind of unique and teach others how to do it, how to use your voice, and how to,
but it takes us. It takes us as the viewer or the listener. It takes us to another place. It's that amazing gift that you have, and people who in your field, I guess you would say.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean it's not teaching. It is teaching in some way, but it's mostly just taking us someplace else.
Yeah.
Well, that's absolutely right, and that's very sweet of you to acknowledge that as an audience. And I think that is the power of audio. When you're watching a movie, you're usually awed by it. Wow, that was a great explosion. But but when you're listening to drama, you actually become a part of the action much more, don't you? In your own mind, and you can kind of imagine. Well, a lot of people get inspired to get into audio theater because they hear it. They say, well, I can do that. I can do voices. I can do accents.
Yeah.
And it's much easier to step into that form of entertainment than it is to
maybe
to get a contract and start doing a TV series.
But if I tried to do a British accent first, I'd start sounding like Ringo. And then for some reason it would become Cajun. I don't know how I go from Liverpool to New Orleans, but I can't hold it. It'll drift to something else. I start sounding like Foghorn Leghorn or something.
I guarantee it is difficult. Yeah, well, it's training. A lot of people don't realize that you can learn those skills. And there are all kinds of schools and teachers out here who specialize in teaching people how to do it. But I have to admit, Larry, that it is a gift.
I think so. I'll leave it to you, Phil. Phil, you are such a great guest. I so enjoyed talking to you. Thank you for being on the air with us today.
Always a pleasure to talk to you guys, too, really.
I know you have a website, Planet Proctor, right?
Yep. PlanetProctor.com. You can see what I'm up to. And I post on Facebook. I love Facebook because I love to take pictures and post pictures. So if you want to follow our adventures in Italy, 3 months, all over the place, you'll be able to see pictures. And we will be staying in a 600-year-old farmhouse converted by one of the Flying Karamazov brothers, whose name is Paul Magid, and he's an old friend of ours. He'll be there. He has converted. Just Google Dragondina. Dragon, GRAGONDENA, and prepare to be amazed.
Wow.
Wow,
there.
we're going to do that.
Again, Phil Proctor, it's an honor. It's a pleasure. You are a
Yes.
joy. Please have a great and safe trip in Italy with your wife. And I'm going to become your friend or whatever on Facebook so I can see those pictures too.
Oh, please do, Rob, and you too, okay?
Oh, I am, Phil. Looking forward to seeing your
right, and
adventures
if you
with
want-
Melinda.
And if you want to hear some of the L. Ron Hubbard stuff, you can go to the goldenage.com site and listen and get carried away. It's really fun.
All right. Phil, thank you again. It's such a joy to chat with you. And
You guys do.
come back.
All right. When we get back from Italy, let's see what we can do, okay?
All right.
Yay.
We'll take a break and we'll be right back.
Are you tired of not using your home's outdoor space for entertaining or relaxation because of all the bugs and leaves? Consider adding a beautiful screen room or glass enclosure. We are Superior Aluminum and Design, a family-owned and operated business with